8,
You're watching The
7,
Experience, Comic Culture,
6,
and Sales.
5,
Streaming live daily to
4,
Facebook, YouTube,
3,
Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
Hello, everybody. It's time to skim some minutes. Oh, wait, no, we're skimming some comics.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know how that works. That math doesn't make sense.
Your volume is way low.
I have a headache over my right eye, so I'm trying not to be super loud
That makes sense.
because it hurts.
Totally good.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I totally can hear you now.
Okay. Let's get started.
Huzzah. Okay. It helps a lot if you've been reading the Batman and Catwoman interaction stuff that's been happening. Feels like it's tied directly to the main universe and conversely to the Penguin storyline that's been going on, the Zero and Number One. The Zero and Number One have been hot. I think that the world has heard that it's really great stuff. So in the Gotham War, this takes place right after the events of the Terror War stuff. It's wrapping up this week. It feels like it was a little mistimed because there's one more Terror War title out this week, but read that one first and then this one. It's my guess. So the premise is that Batman has been sleeping it off, so to say, without the nightmare part. They attribute his sleeping longer to his interactions with Deadman, for being, like when Deadman, uses you as a puppet. And Catwoman has been doing something different while Bats has been away, and she has been training up low-level baddies to be cat burglars and just steal from the rich. And weirdly, crime is down 75%. Now there's going to be conflict because Catwoman wants to continue in this vein. She feels like it's the right way to go. And Batman can't put up with, crime being okay. Because, he's rich and targeting the rich, might feel weird.
Oh, Deja Thor's number 6. So this one starts out with Deja and a warrior talking during a battle, and she's asking if his people will fight with him, and he says, "I don't know." We cut to the warrior's father, who's sitting in like a throne room, and he's kind of iffy because he says if we join this battle, it'll break some treaty that they have. So while he's contemplating this, something happens that makes him decide, okay, you know what? We're in. So they join the battle, and it's these weird monsters. I can't really explain it, but it's monsters. But not only is it monsters, if you've been following this book, there's these spiders. And the spiders are far scarier than monsters. I hate spiders, but they have these spiders they have to fight at the same time. There's this, I guess, Spider King that kind of sees through their eyes and stuff like that. So he sees the battle going on, and he's taken over Helium, and that's what these people are fighting for. I wasn't really clear on it, but
They're always fighting for Helium. That's their name for Mars, by the way. Anybody that doesn't know anything about.
And I only know that because of the movie.
John
Maybe.
Carter, Warlord of Helium, just doesn't have the same ring to it.
No.
Well, or at least it sounds like someone who would talk like this.
But anyway, he sees that they're winning, and he decides to gather all the people of Helium, and he gives this, the dramatic bad guy speech about how, I hear the whispers of rebellion, I hear your prayers to your gods, but there is no hope. And right when he says no hope, we get a shot of Deja and their crew flying away on this giant bird. And that's where the book ends. So, super cool shot. Super cool shot.
Very cool. All right. Black Hammer, the end. I'm going to warn everyone. If you've only ever read Black Hammer, you're not ready for this. You need to have read Reborn.
That helps.
Yeah, because it's all one shared universe. And nowhere does it tell you in this book, hey, you maybe should have read Reborn before you read this. It's not a great place to jump in, especially if you've only ever read Black Hammer. As a Black Hammer story, it leaves a little something to be desired. It's not quite as good as, say, the previous volume of Black Hammer. But I think the things that happen in Reborn influence this book so much that for fans of both, this is going to be hugely fun. And without having read Reborn, this was still very fun. You could tell that what they're doing, what Jeff Lemire is doing here, is setting the whole world into, hey, let's just have a meltdown mode. Right? If you're going to end this entire universe, this is the series where your Galactus level character shows up and starts eating everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So while I wouldn't suggest jumping into this book cold, I would suggest going back and rereading old Black Hammer and rereading Reborn before jumping into this. If you do have to jump into this cold, just know it's like watching the third Lord of the Rings movies, having never read the book or watched any of the movies. It doesn't make any sense, and you're not sure that anything could ever make it make sense. But here we are, and we're just going to ride it out, because this in a lot of ways reminds me of I'm going to use the water slide analogy. Like, once you go over the hill, there ain't crap you could do to stop it, and that's what happens in this book, right? Once you start reading, you just got to hold on, because there ain't anything you can do, and you're hooked in. So just know, maybe do your research beforehand.
I have to say, for people that have never read any Black Hammer, it's probably the best superhero universe that is not Marvel or DC based. Even beats out, for me, Boys and Invincible, all of those.
Yeah. Oh, I don't disagree. Like I said, I never read Reborn.
Mm-hmm.
I've only ever read Black Hammer. So there's this disconnect that I clearly am like, I don't have data I need. Gee, I hope they fill this in. Let's go. And it was good, but it just was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. So.
All right. So this Contest of Chaos book series is really just running through everyone's annuals. So if you're thinking to yourself, oh, I want to have Moon Knight Contest of Chaos #2, that's not going to happen. So just be aware. They are single shots, but are all tied together in this one universe where Agatha Harkness is basically subjecting heroes 2 at a time to chaos crystals, in which it's a very interesting look at the characters. And in this case, when the chaos crystals get a hold of these guys, it essentially throws them through all the versions of themselves, or different versions if they combined with each other, but they're doing their battle throughout. So it's basically a giant what if. I don't know what Agatha's getting out of this, but other than just like a lot of entertainment. It's a lot of great fight scenes, and it's cool to see different versions of what they might look like. But I I still can't tell how this is going to fit into the bigger universe or whether it's going to matter coming out of it. Although Agatha certainly is a character that I know that they're going to be keep using for the TV universe. I don't know where she fits into the comic universe. Great read. Still not sure where it's going.
Ooh. Hold on. There we go. that was the last one I did. So Star Wars Hyperspace Stories. We start this one out with Snoke basically berating General Hux and Kylo Ren about how the planet Caraxus needs to be shown the strength of the First Order. He smells rebellion and things going on down there. And as most people know, at least in the comics, Hux and Ren don't really get along. They both have their own way of doing things. They have different methods. But they go to this planet and they're looking for someone named Kelvin Mann. And they learn of his whereabouts after some interrogation of some folks that know Kelvin. And so they tell him where he's at, and Kylo goes alone, but he's ambushed by some rebels. These rebels are protecting Mann and his family, but Kylo easily just mops the floor with these poor souls. And he comes and gets what he came for. That's what I'm trying to say. I can't read my own writing. But in the middle of it, he feels something. He thinks it's the Force. He thinks he feels the Force in this area. But before he can delve any deeper into that, now they don't call it a Rancor in the book. I think this thing is a Rancor. They call it something different. I'm just going to call it Rancor. Somebody lets it loose, and it's just bashing through this town. Well, General Hux and Kylo Ren have to work together to stop this thing, or it's going to smash them both. So they end up not defeating it, but chase the Rancor away, basically. And this one ends with Kylo coming back and talking to Snoke by himself, telling him what he felt out there, and Snoke tells him, it's your duty to find this light and to snuff it out. And that's where that one ends.
Hi, Sarah S. And Pablo is giving you a hard time that you might be a doctor if you can't read your writing.
Oh, I wish. I got to meet Pablo at Dallas. It was awesome.
How's that? Okay. Ultimate Invasion number 3. Oh, how to get you guys caught up. Basically, oh gosh, I totally have forgotten everything that I read this week about this book. It's so funny. Skip it. Come back. You would come back to me.
I don't know how to do that.
I just skip it.
Okay.
It's a great book. I totally forgot what I read.
All right, from a great book to a not. I'm just going to be honest. The fact that I would say that about a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles book should be indicative of what's happening here that isn't being executed to its fullest potential. The premise of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus Street Fighter is, let's take the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the good guys from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, put them on one team. And then let's take the bad guys from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the bad guys from Street Fighter and put them on another team, and then never have them really fight that much. Except we need to find ways to have Chun-Li kick Baxter Stockman in the face once in a while. Like, this could be a really great story along with a good action book, but it's not being executed in the way you would expect, right? You have two groups known for fighting. It's Street Fighter and Ninja Turtles. Like, you'd think there would be combat, but instead there's a lot of talking, a la like the 60s Batman, where Batman never really fights anybody. He just talks to the Riddler a lot. That's kind of how this is. It's like, okay, we're going to talk to M. Bison and Baxter Stockman a whole lot and then fight them a whole little. Now, this issue really sets it up for the next issue to have the potential to be like, we're not going to put any words in this book and it's all going to be fighting. Because where it leaves off, like it's set up for the fight, right? So I'm willing to accept that the first 3 issues are all like, let us build our world and tell our kind of our, what's the word I'm looking for? Tell our setup, do our sort of exposition, and then the next few books are going to be all action. But right now it's all talking and no ninja-ing.
Ooh, that's pretty.
This one's a tough one, and I will explain in my view why it's tough. So this starts out with guests arriving late to this castle. One of the guests looks wounded, and through a flashback, we learn that they were attacked by a werewolf. And we kind of learn how this person was hurt. We
Looks like your house.
Real quick, while Jay gives his thoughts, yes, figure drawing, the art is good in the TMNT Street Fighter book. Lots of good collars on the Street Fighter characters. I'm just throwing that out there.
We cut to somebody talking to themselves in a store window, and these 3 guys come to accost her, and apparently she's something. I don't know what she is, but she dispatches of these dudes pretty quick. We get back to the mansion, and there's a character, I want to say her name was Tara. I've only read, I think, issue 1 of this, maybe issue 2. So I think she's one of the main characters. And she heals the wounded person. This one ends with a character revealing themselves to be an iconic character in history. The thing that's so hard about this book is it's very visual. It's more visual than story. So if that's something that you're into, really good visuals, I think you would enjoy it.
Yeah, this
is kind of hard to review.
Shannon Mayer, who used to be a cover artist primarily. I think this is Shannon's first full interior work, which is all looks like the cover, where it's all looks like painted gorgeousness.
Sarah, earlier in the show, Miss Jen reviewed the new Batman Catwoman book. Mm-hmm. You should definitely take a look at it if you liked Batman Joker Deadly Duel.
Okay, before I do Doomsday, my brain stopped having a moment. Man, I was having a senior moment for a second. Okay, so in the series, this is Hickman's new universe, okay? So it's not related to...
Wait, are we going back to the thing we were on before?
Yeah, but everyone's fine. They can figure out. We're going to...
Okay, but you didn't say that.
Oh, you can do it. Oh, fancy.
Yeah, I just don't know. I just didn't know if I was going to be able to do that.
Yeah, so this is his new Ultimate Universe. By the way, everyone should get number 4. I'm only going to tell you that one time. And then you can say, thank you, Miss Jen, for telling me the things. Okay, so number 3 is important. So this is the maker gathering together a bunch of very powerful people to Latveria. Because remember last time, that's where he sent Howard and young Tony. He is supposed to be making a specific thing, which I don't want to mess it up for you guys because it's kind of part of the big storyline, for his purposes. He's got something majorly big that he wants to do. It's interesting because a lot of the characters that are part of this gathering are what you would call not good guys. And so the question, of course, that Howard has is why are we working together? This doesn't make any sense. And the last page of the main storyline has a huge revelation. It is the first appearance as someone as something. So totally get that. But don't miss out. There is a little section at the end of the book that's just like 2 pages who has a different character in there who probably doesn't like the thing that the maker's doing. So I'm just saying, this is a long running series you're starting here. So if you're thinking to yourself, I don't know if I want to get into Ultimate Invasion, just telling you, don't get caught like a lot of people are now that did not do Powers of 10 and House of X, not realizing that Hickman's stuff was going to be still in play however many years later we are, that it's important to everything that's going on. So don't miss Ultimate Invasion stuff. All right, now I can do Doomsday.
Okay, let's see if this works. Yay, it worked. Okay.
Yay, Doomsday special. Okay, so this is truly an interaction between Superman and I can't remember the person. Someone trying to keep Doomsday. Oh, it's Supergirl. Because Doomsday is currently dead. Completely and utterly destroyed him. But remember, Doomsday's thing is that every single time he dies, he comes back. But then he knows more than he did before, because every time he dies a different kind of death. So then he knows he's an expert then at that kind of death. So he's done this many, many times. So he's just has a giant batch of knowledge that he has for how to kill people. So currently they believe they have him completely down, like he'll never be able to come back again. But as you can tell from the cover here, they find him in hell, which he is going to try to escape in a very unique way. So I'm going to leave that for y'all because this is really great. It's I'm not really, like I say often, I'm not really a DC person, but this storyline is so good. And it's a really good thick book. And you don't need to know really anything going in. If you've seen, Doomsday kills Superman, you probably know all you need to know about him. Secret Wars. No Secret Wars.
Okay. So this is Grim Fairy Tale 75. And before you go into this book, I need you to suspend everything you know about human anatomy and meteorology.
Okay. Gone.
Okay. Also, if you have feelings about fish people, maybe set them aside as well. Because this book has somehow it opens on our cast of characters, our ladies of Grim Fairy Tales, in a realm that is all ice. None of them are wearing any clothes, but none of them are cold. Anyway, it's a whole, like, the minute it starts, it takes me out of it. I'm going, how are you not freezing? Anyway, they find a Cyclops frozen in the ground and an army of Vikings frozen in the ground and dead. And that doesn't say to them, gee, maybe we should leave here. Or
get clothes.
At least get dressed because it's cold. In fact, like how their butt cheeks don't get frostbite, I'll never understand. But they go through the book and it's like action sequence after action sequence after action sequence after, and then they'll take a break and there'll be some writing that's not particularly good, but then action sequence and then action sequence and then Mecha Cthulhu kind of shows up. I don't know that he's actually Mecha Cthulhu, but he shoots a lot of like lightning bolts. You can see him in the background. He's got like some energy powers that aren't traditional to your Cthulhus. That they wind up having to deal with.
Look. Why are you trying to put Cthulhu in a box?
Because I'll be honest, if we could put him back in the box, Zenoscope could move on from this terrible idea and onto something more interesting. They've dropped Cthulhu into literally every story now, whether he fits or not. Right? It's like, oh, this needs more Cthulhu. Just throw him in there. Yeah, but like they've been battling a Cyclops. Doesn't matter. Cthulhu. We're just gonna freeze the Cyclops this issue. Like this book is all about these girls doing action scenes. The writing is irrelevant. The storytelling is irrelevant. The art and the action scenes are the only reason that this book exists. And it's a good reason.
Yeah.
Okay? It's a good reason.
I'm kind of thinking to myself, I've never read a Zenoscope story that just didn't eventually come back around and you're like, oh, okay. So I'm just hoping that's where that's going. It
really does feel like they just took a book in this series and said, let's Cthulhu it up and make some ice stuff. Then made it a whole action book. I don't know if Dave Franchini actually wrote anything in this book or if it was all just kind of, here's an idea from another story and here's an idea from another story and here's an idea from another story, all meshed into one. But you can ignore the writing and just look at the pictures and still have a blast.
Sarah's got a good point. It's amazing how famous Cthulhu is when he's based on kind of a short story.
Well, it's public domain, so everybody's running to it because they don't have to pay anybody. So it really is becoming that thing like zombies or vampires or whatever that you don't have to pay anybody and you can use it now.
Pop up Pablo's comment.
Cthulhu It Up is the name of my Wu-Tang Clan ska cover band.
There you go. I think people would show up for that one. All right, I'm going to try to say the name of this book so hard. Benigno. Okay, so this is slated to be a Scoot title, which is aimed at kids. But I don't understand how any kid could understand this book because I had a really difficult time with it. It seems more violent than a kid would like and a little more heady than a kid would like. It's almost like the people that made Murder Hobo made a book, but then was like, it'll be okay for kids. I don't know. It's cool, but I don't know really who it was aimed for. It's got to be for older kids. It's got to be teens. Yeah. And I sincerely, I'm going to tell you, I have no idea what the book is about. I need an issue 2, I think.
It was a little salty that Jay picked this one.
Why, you wanted it?
Well, I really enjoyed the first issue, and I don't normally go in for these kind of things. And then Jay picked the second issue, and I'm like, you jerk.
Sure did, because I really enjoyed the first issue as well. So this is basically a story about orcs and humans coming together to face a common enemy. I still don't know if they gave the enemies a name. I don't remember from the first issue. But anyway, in this one, they just introduced more characters. It's kind of like a, what do they call it? Because I'm not a D&D person. The rest of the camp.
Your party?
There you go. Party. Dude, I know nothing about Dungeons and Dragons.
No, I understand. I'm like, but I'm not sure that was the right word. It's like,
Publicist enemies called Cthulhu, of course.
They introduced the rest of the party. You got your bard, your bard, your warrior, couple warriors actually, and they don't really say where they're going. They're traveling. I know they said it in the first issue, but I completely need to reread the first issue. But we leave that group for a little while, and we go to these other 2 orcs who are in kind of like an arranged marriage, and they're also traveling. They're in the icy part of this land, and it's getting late, so they decide to make camp, and the characters named Toth and Fair, Toth and Farron, I believe. Uh, they're fixing to fall asleep. They hear noises outside, and it's these humongous wolves, and the wolves attack. So they fight back, and as you do in killing these wolves together, it draws them closer together. Guess it's some kind of weird orc thing, I guess. But
They're like
we-
Klingons.
yeah, it's kind of what it felt like actually. This is very very much a high fantasy book, and like I said, the thing that interested me the most in the first issue was you don't see many times where it's human and orcs coming together to fight a common enemy. It's usually humans and elves, humans and this and that to fight orcs. So this kind of, for me, flips it on its head, and it has the humans and the orcs working together. So I would definitely check this out, just because if you're into high fantasy, this is a really good fantasy book.
Okay, so I will catch you up in this Fall of X-Tide title. As part of the big Hellfire Gala, actually, I think just ahead of it, Miss Marvel is killed. And normally that would be the end of everything. I think she actually died in one of the Spider-Man issues.
26.
You know which one?
26.
26. And what you found out in ahead of this issue is that she actually, they found out she's part mutant. So she's, I don't know, they haven't gone as far as say she's half mutant, half, oh my gosh. What's Black Bolt?
Inhuman,
Thank you. And so they have used the power of Krakoa that they have been using to do reanimation of characters, like regenerating them. So they bring her back to life. And so this is that Miss Marvel. So it really is her. But so this is her without anyone else knowing that she's a mutant. That's still a secret. She has registered herself in the Orcus controlled university that is like just before university time. It's like a high school dual credit kind of thing, with the idea of going and doing some super secret spy stuff. And like all things, when you're a teenager and or at university, things don't always work out exactly what you like. And she hasn't told her best friend in the entire universe that she's a mutant. So there's also that kind of in play. So, it's tough being her age and to deal with all of this stuff, being, freshly undead. It's great. It's a good thing for her to be back. It's good to have her in this role. So I know a lot of people are like, why would you kill someone just to bring them right back? Well, she's unique, as far as I know, in the Marvel Universe to have been both. And probably the last of her kind ever be able. I don't think they can do any more regeneration. So I think that part of everything is broken because of, there's no mutants allowed on the island. So, and they need the island for it to happen. So it's way cool.
Okay. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures Endless Summer One Shot. This is not the Turtles that I love.
Oh, it's not the cartoony ones?
I like the original Turtles that might just kill you. Dark, grungy Turtles. This is Nickelodeon Archie Turtles, which there's nothing wrong with. I like them too. But this is also part of a big crossover event, and it's not the first book in the big crossover event. So there's an amount of jumping into this book that you maybe need to read the Saturday Morning Adventures Endless Summer D&D book and the Saturday Morning Adventures Endless Summer Sonic the Hedgehog book.
Mm-hmm.
In order to fully really kind of understand this deal.
So who's their bad guy? What's their deal? What do they have a common enemy? What's
in
the
in
context?
this particular issue, it's not really revealed who the bad guy is
Oh.
across the whole Endless Summer line. They have interactions with Leatherhead and Baxter Stockman and, you know, some of your traditional baddies from the Turtles. But it's not really revealed who exactly the big baddie is here. And just know that this also comes with Endless Summer Dungeons and Dragons, Endless Summer My Little Pony, Endless Summer Sonic the Hedgehog. So there's 4 books that are all tied together here
Mm-hmm.
in these one-shots. You're going to need all 4 of them. You can't just read the one with the turtles, unfortunately. And so that makes this book hard to understand. It is a fun, kind of goofy Turtles story like you saw in the cartoon shows.
Mm-hmm.
Like you saw in the Archie or Nickelodeon books that they did. But it's like doing a math problem where all you have are the letters and none of the numbers. You don't exactly know what you need to know what you know.
Mm-hmm. Sarah, yes, it is a weird Heinz 57, but we've realized over our, decades and decades of reading comic books that have crossovers that don't make sense. They do make sense. They've done Transformers My Little Pony books, and it was awesome. They've mixed together so many good things, but they're all from these cool franchise IPs that don't seem to make any sense, but do really.
Well, and these are all books that they've done Saturday morning cartoons or Saturday morning adventures volumes of. So that's the important part, that they all tie together through that lens. I'll be interested to read the other 3 and see how they all fit together puzzle-wise.
That is such a pretty cover. Oh my gosh.
Yes, the art in this book is amazing. So this is basically Conan fighting zombies. Not really a spoiler if you read the first one, because that's what happens at the end of it. It's Conan versus zombies. This one though, it's a different kind of zombie though, because after they're done destroying the village that they're in, they take the bodies with them. And you don't really know why. I don't know if it's because they're going to save them for later, but Conan and Brissa, who's the other character in this book, they end up following them, and they go through another village that's been attacked, and then something spoilery happens there that I'm not going to tell you. You're going to have to get the book to find out. And this one ends on kind of, it's cliffhangery, I guess, because they fight another zombie horde, and when they escape, they find this mountain that has this strange emerald glow, and it basically just ends like that. But it's violent. It's zombies in Conan is strange, but it worked for me in this one. So if you're a Conan fan, I would definitely check this one out.
I love Pablo's new word, crombies. My crom. Okay, this is Ancient Enemies First Responder. So it's part of the Ancient Enemies universe that Dan Dio has been writing under Frank Miller Presents. This one, you need to know that Ancient Enemies, the universe, is basically you're kind of in current time, but know that the characters themselves are fighting this war against each other that no one alive remembers why it started. So, and there is a cool aspect of it, like this one, the first responder character, he has been kind of imbued with the memories of an ancient person that's part of this war. and is struggling to have his own identity because he himself is just a regular fireman. So he disappeared. He had some kind of, was part of some big either fire or catastrophe in the past as a human and disappeared along with one of his other teammates. And he's been gone for 20 years. So, and this is kind of what he's been doing. He's been fighting this war as this other character. I guess you're going to call him first responder. So this is kind of like a great, I like this kind of storytelling where there's some stuff that you have to assume. There's another character that gets introduced here that helps him understand himself and what he's, you know, like he doesn't remember himself at all, but this other character helps him get there. It's not a big battle book. It's mostly about trying to figure out, you know, like kind of going back and forth in time and seeing, you know, his interaction really with his father and how his whole family dynamic was. Basically, it's everything that I really get excited about, you know, character development. So you don't need to have read any of the Ancient Enemies storylines to enjoy this book on its own. Great gift probably for somebody in your life that is a fireman or works in that field at all, because they probably, you know, they love reading stories about heroic actions by people that do the same things they do every day. So thank you, first responders out there, because we know that you guys put yourselves on the line all the time.
All right.
Oh, Sarah. So by the way, if you are watching on YouTube, you can only see people reacting that are responding on YouTube. We have other people watching on Facebook and Twitch. And so when they comment, you can't see it. So I apologize.
There was one book in here, or one story in this book that I really wanted to read, which is why I picked it. And that is a story called Reimagined, written by the original Pink Power Ranger, Amy Jo Johnson.
How cool is that?
And the reason I wanted to read it is that they're spinning it out into its own series. So this is actually a setup of a forthcoming Mighty Morphin Power Rangers book in that series. And some of the other ones, some of the other stories will continue in the regular MMPR book and in some of the other things that you're going to see coming from this franchise. But hers was the thing I most wanted to see. And it's a reimagining of how you come to be a ranger. It was a really cool story. The thing about this book is that it's an anthology. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 writers on this book, telling 6 different stories in the TM or in the MMPR universe. And some of them were better than others because I think they're meant to be setting up future stories, and others were just fun and entertaining little tastes, right? But I'll be honest, I would buy this book at $9.99 just for the setup of the story that Amy Jo Johnson is going to be telling going forward in this universe. It's great. If you're of a certain age like me, where this book was super important to your childhood, or this series was super important to your childhood, this book is going to make you feel old because it's the 30th anniversary special.
Ugh.
And I'm not prepared for Power Rangers to be 30. Just wasn't ready for that. Mm-hmm. So that's the one knock on this book, is that it made me feel super old. But it was super fun read. It had all the little bits. It actually had a story that reminded me of a meme I saw, which is the story of how Tommy went from being a bad guy to a good guy. Mm-hmm. And it's basically the other Power Rangers going to him and going, "Stop that." And him going, "Okay." They did like an 8-page story that was basically the other Rangers telling him, "Stop that." Oh, it was great. So
power of friendship.
Uh-huh.
All right, Godzilla Rivals. I'm going to tell you right now, there's a big old long storyline that happens in this, but basically it is them conveying the translation of an ancient tablet that they found about Space Godzilla. And I really have a hard time reading just narration, which is essentially what it becomes, just block text. So I skipped all of it and just looked at the beautiful, gorgeous, drop dead, amazing art that is this book. It is so beautiful. I'll eventually go back and read all those block texts, but sometimes I just am not in the mood for not. I need some exposition at some point. Say a gra if that's all there is. I'm okay with that.
Right. Some of you aware of with the Godzilla Rivals series that Jay and I have talked about this before, and I know Miss Jen's mentioned it. This is one of those Godzilla series where it's not so much about Godzilla and it's about people, and you want it to be about Godzilla.
No, this is totally about Godzilla. I don't think there's any people in this one.
Well, but that's what I was going to say. So this is a nice change in this series, even though block text, never fun. So. Hey, collars.
Ooh, that's a good cover.
So, there's a reason I picked Draculina. And the reason is I don't understand this book at all. I want to. That's why I pick it. I want to try to understand what's going on with the book. I'm not, until the experience, I was not overly familiar with a lot of these Dynamite characters like Vampirella and Barbarella and all of them. This gives a little bit of a backstory for Lilith. It's her and Belial have kind of like a deal where she gets power if she gives him children. So a lot of this book covers some of those children. I get confused about it because apparently there's 2 Draculinas. This one kind of has little vignettes. Like we have part of the story, and then it goes into, well, here's what Vampirella was doing around this time, which was she was trying not to kill people, but she did. And she found someone she cared about and decided to chase them away. Then it goes back to Draculina and Vampirella are like on an astral plane. And they're looking for this candle. And the only thing I can gather from it is that a child of Belial or Lilith has to light this candle. I said, for me, very confusing. I'm trying to understand it. For those who are fans of this character, are fans of Christopher Priest's writing, you will probably enjoy this or get it a lot better than I do. But again, it's there's a through story and then little vignettes of I think 3 or 4 of the different children. But it basically is they're trying to get out of this astral plane is what I got was the whole overarching part of the story.
All right. Saturday Morning Adventures Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 4. Again, these are not my turtles that I immediately gravitate to. But this was super fun and it reminded me of being a kid. Shredder has stolen this indestructible meteorite. And when Shredder steals something, you know he has ill intentions. And so Donnie finds like this interdimensional signal that they need to track. And so Donnie and Raph head south. And they team up with the punk frogs, Attila and Rasputin, who are my favorite 2 punk frogs, by the way, to try and track him down. So it's essentially Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles meet the people from that show, the Swamp People on the Discovery Channel. And wind up doing battle with a version of Leatherhead that is straight out of like Duck Dynasty. It's great. This is a super fun. This is the first part of a 2-part series called Swapping Pads that's going to be happening in Saturday Morning Adventures TMNT.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't that crocodile that's on there remind you of the bear the bears at Disneyland.
You know what he reminds me of is the crocodile from Peter Pan.
Oh yeah, maybe that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like trying to figure out what does that remind me of. All right, for everybody, this is the first thing you're going to see from New Company Distillery. This is the Devil's Cut. It's a big anthology. It basically launches all their titles and introduces you to their owner creators. Because, yes, the creators own the company also. Just so you understand, everything from Distillery has some kind of fun relationship to liquor. In this case, when you put liquor in barrels, the stuff that seeps into the barrel is called the Devil's Cut. And the stuff that kind of like
Evaporates.
Becomes vapor is the angels part. So this, I don't know if we're ever going to get the angels piece, if they're going to get there, but this one is definitely Devil's Cut material. So this is going to be not for kids material at all. It is a ton of different stories. It goes all over the place. There is stuff that is sci-fi, space-based things here. There's straight up horror. Some of it very gruesome. If you don't like guts, etc., you probably want to skip some of them. But my favorite of all of them, and I know that I love this creator, but I wasn't prepared for what I got from him. So Ram V's story, which is probably most of the way through the book. There's probably 2 after his. I was not prepared for the emotional damage that it was going to do me. Thanks, Rom. You always get me. But I didn't expect it from his. This is the tease for the series that's going to go on. This is all really amazing. I mean, I can't tell you. I'm super excited for everything in it. The styles of art are also different. There is some cartoony looking stories that happen in the pieces. So it's a little bit of everything. It definitely lets you know that they're going to have something for everybody in their company, and they're not going to roll it out so there's like a million titles coming out at the same time either. So they've got a good release schedule so that it doesn't break your pocketbook. But this book at $10 is worth $20. I'm just saying it out loud. It's probably my favorite thing this week. It might be my favorite thing this week.
Okay. Alice Never After. This might be my favorite thing Dan Panosian has ever done.
Oh, that's big talking.
Which is saying something. It really is. So if you read Alice Ever After, the first volume, it kind of sets up this world where Alice is a girl in Victorian times who has some mental health issues and a little bit of a drug problem. And it exists in a time where they don't really know what to do with that. So they put her in an asylum, and the people there are pretty bad to her. And so when she escapes mentally, either through drugs or through having, what we would classify today as a psychotic break, she goes to Wonderland, or as they call it in this book, Underland. And the characters in Underland are the way she perceives and accepts the people in and around her world while she's in that state. So the second volume is Alice Never After, and she is essentially, due to the trauma from the first volume, in a permanent state of dissociation. And so this issue is her and her family doesn't really know what to do, and she's not really eating, and she's not really doing anything because of this break. And her family trying to figure things out, which involves going back to some of the people who treated her poorly in the first volume, because they're the only people who know anything about anything. Mm-hmm. And you see those people reemerge in Underland. They had been gone. You see them reemerge in Underland as she tries to cope with their being back a part of her life. And what's cool about this volume is she's now the Queen of Hearts. So, unprecedented power.
Hey, Phil, I just want to say hi. We got a new viewer on, so hello. Mother Russia from CEX Publishing. You might be familiar with this character from Alterna, and I think also there was another company that carried Mother Russia for a little while. It is a really cool tale. This one, she is a sniper in the bell tower that you see there in the middle, and there is a big zombie apocalypse happening, but it's middle of wartime, so they're all in military garb, still going about their military ways, I guess. And in the middle of this, her, taking in her time to take a bunch of zombies out by sniping them, there is this kid that wanders through the middle of the zombies that they don't necessarily notice at all until the kid, drops their baby doll and starts crying, in which she has to come out of the tower. And that's all you need to know about that. There's a big twist at the end, which is awesome. You don't have to have read anything else Mother Russia. Just know that she is a very protective person, despite the fact that she'll probably just kill you if you get in her way.
All right, that's everything for this week. Thank you guys for being here. Head over to comicshoplocator.com to find comic shops nearby to you, wherever you are. And tune in to other shows on the experience. Up next is Mint Hunter. Jen will be live over on Comic Book Shopping Network with Tomorrow's Books Today. With new books over there if you want to pick them up. We will be back next week with more of this show. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.